Welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome my guest, JJ.
What's up, guys? My name is JJ. Also go by MILO.
Nice. How do you pronounce your name?
Yeah, so it's Lacanilao.
Lacanilao.
Yes.
Lacanilao.
Yeah, I just found out that it means I think it means like the last star or something. I remember
Interesting.
my aunt kind of broke that down at a Christmas party.
Yeah.
It's something star, loosely
Mm.
translated.
Is it from so it's Filipino.
Yes.
Is it from like a certain dialect or like area, province? Do you know?
I would like to believe, based on just family, it's Ilocano,
Okay.
but I don't quote me on that.
Okay. Yeah. That's all good. You're like, I think so.
I think so.
Cool. All right. Well, anyways, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show. So I will go into how I know you. We've already read your bio by now, but so we met through dance, a project team. They're both on K and D. Excuse me. And so we danced together for season 2 for Kinsa's K Factor 2024 at UCLA, and then you're still doing stuff with them. You're gonna perform at what is it?
OC Japan.
OC Japan.
Mhm.
Yeah. One second. Something in my throat. But yeah, as a fellow Filipino dancer with a 2-letter name, I feel like we would vibe well, and I think we did. I think we met like, what is it, like end of 2023, right, or something like that. 2023.
Yes, I think we've met officially after you guys performed. We ended up getting pocha.
Yeah. So wasn't that like Saki's birthday?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the reason why I remember this is because it was Saki's birthday, and Saki and Yuki, well, Yuki was on the show. Let's just say they drank a little bit too much in the parking lot,
Mhm.
and so we were taking care of them, and then you and I connected, and we were just talking a bit about like our aspirations and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it was really cool to connect with you, and I know that you do DJing and nightlife stuff, so it was nice to yeah that you were able to be on the show because I feel
Mhm.
like you have an interesting career.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we talked about our future goals, and I respect that you're constantly like on the grind. You're doing what you love, and you were telling me before this that you have plans on what you want to do this year. And you're just constantly in the scene, which is dope. Any clarifications on what else you're up to?
Not really clarifications. Yeah, it's just, it's slow season right now for DJing at least, spring break is just around the corner.
Mm.
So kind of preparing my schedule for that. But also on the flip side, just kind of prepping content, trying to start up a YouTube channel next year. So I'm just kind of like building up that backlog for it.
Nice, dope. And then by the end, we can plug wherever you want to, or tell them what you're up to. So we'll get back to that.
Heck yeah.
Um, all right. So first topic, if nothing else. Oh no, sorry. Let's go into a video. Yes. So
Oh
Solomon,
no.
if you don't mind queuing this up, we are both featured here. So if you are audio only, so it's key factor is past. AJ solo. And that was it. That was dope. We killed it. Second place. Let's go.
Second place.
Yeah. And okay, just for the audience note, we were second place by like 0.5 points,
Oh my goodness.
right? Isn't
And
that
first
crazy?
up.
Yeah, we were very first in the
First up.
competition lineup. So second like set, but first of the competition lineup,
Yeah.
and we still got second place by 0.5.
Insane.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's a testament to how dope we were.
Yeah. It's also like having that or having the judges like score you that high
Mhm,
and
mhm.
you have like
The rest of the
the
show.
rest of the show, intermission, and then a
Mhm.
whole second half. Like,
And they were like, okay, one team maybe did slightly better, but other than that,
Yeah.
like that's a pretty, huge compliment, I
Yeah.
would say. Testament to our hard work. So
oh, for sure.
dope.
I love that set.
I know, so good. All right, let's go into first topic. So, as with all my first time guests, kind of like origin story, main influences, background. If you don't mind connecting the dots of where did you start off, or like what were you like, main influences when you were younger,
Mhm.
connecting the dots to like where you are today or who you are today.
Yeah. So I think I can pinpoint where my influences started. It was definitely in middle school when I saw my older cousin. His name's Adam. He was in the drama department. I saw a performance and he kind of just flipped my whole world like a complete 180. And I was like, whoa, stage, that's what I want to do.
Mm.
So throughout middle school and then high school, performed in musicals, plays, and that kind of, elevated my interest in more things like dance, just kind of like stage and like just in the umbrella of everything. Um, and then that's when I started getting into more hip hop dances and stuff. With in my high school, in my all male. Shout out Walnut High School, all male, and yeah, that kind of like went all the way to college, and throughout college, dancing in and out. That's when I started becoming the designated aux cord.
Mm.
So, queuing up music, making the party lively, and then seeing my brother on his 21st birthday use a whole DJ controller. I was just like trying to see what he was doing on his laptop, and then that kind of sparked my kind of like interest with DJing and how he can blend this song and the next song like completely like seamlessly. And then COVID happened, so I borrowed his controller throughout all of that. Went to YouTube University for DJing, and then officially went to an actual school, Academy of DJs in OC, to learn the ropes, the history of anything and everything DJing.
Mm.
And
Nice.
I am here now.
Now you're here. Yeah. Really quick tangent. Siblings, how many do you have?
Yeah, so I'm the oldest out of three, or no, out of two, not including me. So it's gonna be me, my little brother Zach, and then my little sister Hillary.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then so you were the designated aux cord. Was that just by happenstance?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think everyone kind of like trusted my taste in music.
Mm.
Um, and then yeah, they were just like I remember at one certain like I was on a dance team in college, so like one party, they were just kind of tired of like playing off their iPads, so they had me connect to Bluetooth, and then I was just like, okay, let's get the party started,
Mhm.
and then the party would like probably go on until like 2 a.m. and I'm just like, guys, I have to go. Someone connect,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah.
I don't
Nice.
want to stay here forever.
Yeah. Like, come on, let me go.
Yes, please.
Hmm. So then I guess let's take a step back. So let's say before college, high
Mhm.
school, and then going into college, and then after college, what were your career aspirations or life aspirations at that point? So you're, mid high school level, and you're
Mhm.
like, what did you feel like you wanted to do? What did you feel like you were good at? And then college, like, what was your major and or what were you trying to do at that point?
Yeah, so mid high school, kind of like end of high school, I was really set on trying the whole acting thing for sure. That was going to auditions, and that was in talks of like agent stuff, just to like help me with more bookings and stuff like that. But it never really got to that.
Because
Um,
you were like performing and stuff. You were doing like musicals or something.
yeah, I was
Okay,
doing
okay, yeah,
musicals, plays. I went to maybe like four local auditions just for like the local playhouses and stuff, just to see if I could be able to. But luckily, shout out my drama teacher in high school. She kind of had actual like real life experiences like outside, like not just being a teacher, but just like directing and like producing and stuff like that. So she kind of prepped us for the real world, and she told us like 80% is going to be a no, but
Mm.
there's going to be like that rare 20% where you'll be able to book. So I kind of had that expectation going into like real world auditions kind of out of high school. And yeah, I think it was just butting heads, traditional Filipino parents
Mm.
kind of like butting heads of like what I would like to do, what they would like me to do, and
What did they want you to do, or what did they imagine for your
so
future?
many different things
Yeah,
besides what I
right, right, right. Like literally everything else.
literally everything else. I've gotten computer engineer, I've gotten aviation expert, I've gotten postman.
Mm-hmm,
Literally
mm-hmm.
anything they could throw at me instead of trying this creative output that I've was so passionately on like trying to do.
Mm. Do you sing?
I used to. I could carry a tune for sure,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not professionally. Like
Right.
if you told me to sing right now, it'd probably be really bad.
Ah, I see, I see. So just the standard Filipino genetics, but nothing on
Mm,
top of that.
nothing on top of
Gotcha.
that.
Okay, so you were aspiring to go into acting and whatnot, and then so in college, what was your mindset there, like major wise or career at that point?
So I had a deal with my parents to be like, hey, you could still try the acting thing. You could still try to do auditions and stuff. I would just like you to do like some of these like core classes
Okay.
because I only went to um, community college, so I was only doing kind of like the prereqs, core classes, and then just to kind of like fill that creative outlet void, I had my theater classes. So originally I went to school for computer engineering just to kind of like please my parents and stuff.
Mm.
Then I kind of flipped the switch on them where I was just like, let's learn like the business side, like marketing, like, just so if there's ever a chance where I do get an agent, I can kind of know the ins and outs and not kind of be swindled in that kind of sense. Um, but that didn't work out either because prerequisites kind of overlapped like core classes and like um it started just getting like pretty tough mentally about like what am I doing? Like, am I doing this for me or am I doing this to kind of just please my parents? Um, so yeah, I think I didn't really have like a set idea or set major going into community college, but yeah, I think I was kind of like one foot out the door, but also kind of like trying to. I was having like a what do you call it? Like a
Like a career crisis or like
yes,
okay,
career
yeah, yeah.
crisis for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, as I feel like most college students going through that are similar to.
Hmm.
I was just hanging out with some of my team earlier, and it's the same thing. Like
Yeah,
four of them, all career crisis.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I'm this major, but I also don't really know what I want to do, so
yeah,
I'm gonna try things out. And like, that's what you should be doing. You should be trying stuff out.
yeah.
So then, so you're kind of like looking at different things, and then so you graduate
I
or
did not.
okay, okay,
So yeah, I did not graduate college. I didn't finish college, but through kind of like friends from my dance team, I was able to get a job. So I wasn't like
okay,
not doing anything with my life.
gotcha, gotcha.
So it was kind of just providing for myself at that point, but also taking a break from like the school systems and stuff like that of just like me trying to figure out what path is right for me. And if that means like getting a mentor and not really like finishing school in that sense, then that's perfectly okay with me.
Yeah. So you're kind of like a I don't know how to say this, like an art kid, like an artsy kid, like
Oh,
you
for sure.
more creative, but you're still not sure what you really wanted to do or like your quote unquote place in the marketplace,
Hmm.
right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know what to do. All right. So then eventually you stumbled upon music, like you said.
Hmm.
What do you think lends itself or the way your brain is wired, I guess, from
Hmm.
a self awareness point of view? What do you think lends yourself to going towards like music? I don't know if that question makes sense.
It does. So I think what kind of like pushes me for like me for music is just because there's so many different avenues you could take with music. I had a really good conversation with one of my friends from Academy of DJs where music doesn't necessarily mean producing. It doesn't well, it means producing, but it doesn't necessarily means producing in an artistic
Mhm.
for like artist kind of standpoint. Um, there's producing music for commercials, producing music for jingles, um, scores. You know what I'm saying? Like for movies and stuff like that. So many different avenues, and then also for the love of music, it's kind of like what is the visual aspect of that, and that can go into fashion, that can go into graphic design, that could go into um, kind of like how like for a stage production, like going back to musicals, like how lighting, like it can go into so many different creative avenues that just like kind of like pique my interests in that kind of sense. So I think that's what pushes me still towards music, where it doesn't have to necessarily be so like, for example, like a Metro Boomin or like a Take Heath, like famous producers where they just make beats or DJ Mustard.
Mhm.
Um, it could be more on avenues of like, you know, more niche things, in my opinion.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of ways you can use that and a lot of avenues that people might not know about, but that you can do a lot with it.
For sure.
I like that. So now switching over, or not switching over, but I guess continuing on the topic of DJing. My next series of questions is basically like, so you told us you kind of picked up DJing and then eventually went to Academy of DJs.
Mhm.
I guess what age were you at? What is Academy of DJs? And then like, what did you learn through that process?
Ooh, wow. Okay, so I'm 28 right now. I probably joined Academy DJs when I just turned 20. No, I think I was 26 going on 27.
Okay. But
Um,
did you start DJing before that?
I did a little
Okay,
bit.
okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Just like dabbling.
yeah, dabbling in it, bedroom DJ. I was like putting out mixes on SoundCloud just for like my own kind of like enjoyment, just to hear back like what I created, but also to kind of like, hey, I'm pretty like kind of semi serious about this. So if my friends want to take a listen, it's on SoundCloud. Um, but yeah, was kind of on again, like I said, YouTube University, just watching countless hours of just DJ tutorials and kind of like matching it on like this like really basic like DJ board that you could just plug in and play on your laptop. Um, and yeah, I was like there for like the the whole quarantine probably, and then I got a couple opportunities to like actually DJ in uh like social settings like bars and stuff like that prior into getting into Academy of DJs for season 12.
Cool. All right. So now, what is Academy DJs, and then what did you like? What is that process of? What do you learn? What is the whole thing?
Yeah, so oh my gosh, I could go on and on about them. But I found out about Academy DJs kind of just through word of mouth. Like a lot of the people in the dance community here in the LAOC area, kind of either it's funny, they either make a switch into DJing or they become like a physical therapist
Mm,
because of like the whole am
not that
I
I.
am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Because not that I've had a ton of physical therapist friends who do the
Uh-huh.
same thing.
Yeah. But it's kind of common because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you know what your body does and you know how to take care of it. Let's be a PT. Or you still love dance and you still love music. What do you become? A DJ. So I went the DJ route.
Mhm.
And yeah, they I kind of knew them through word of mouth. And then actually I applied first for season 10. Season 10 was kind of a little bit before COVID, and I funnily enough got accepted. Um, but sadly, that's when the world kind of
Shut down.
shut down. I was also having, I was also planned to go on a trip to the Philippines with my partner Lauren, and we were going to be gone for like the first month of when Academy was supposed to start. So I talked to the guy. His name is Diho, and I was just like, "Hey, I might miss the first month. Is that okay? Can I like catch up on work and stuff like that? Because I really want to do this." And he was like, the first month is kind of crucial."
Mm.
And at that point in time, I was like, "Damn, okay, I'll just reapply then. Hopefully, you guys accept me." Fast forward to season 12, they do accept me, and now I understand why that month is so crucial because that's when you kind of have one-on-ones with your staff, you have one-on-ones with your class, um, and like through that whole process, like I was able to learn different equipment like turntables, club equipment like CDJs, and I was able to learn the history of it. They teach you the history as well as real life application, like how to set up speakers for like weddings, and how to troubleshoot the equipment, just in case like not everything is like supposed to be where it's at.
Okay, so it's a very hands-on technical approach. Like, here's the equipment,
Mhm.
how to actually be DJ, some stuff that you might have to learn like on the fly if you were just trying to, I don't know, bootstrap this thing by
Yeah,
yourself. But they're like, here's literally what you need to know.
yeah,
I see. Okay, and so I can infer that if you're saying like season 10, season 12, is it like each season is a different cohort of people who go through it?
hmm
So what is that? I guess what is the application process like? And then two, what is that sort of cohort experience like? Like, how many people and how long does it last?
So this is actually where like this actually felt like a real school because they only accept. Well, now they accept 14, but during my season, I think our season was the last one to accept only 12. And they, now being a staff member for Academy of DJs and like a teacher and a mentor, um, the applications can span between like 3 to 400 applicants. Um, so being one of the rare 12 to get chosen for that kind of actually felt like I got accepted to like my dream school,
Yeah.
like I never got that experience, but like that's what it felt like of just like, oh God, I hope they accept me,
Yeah.
man. Oh.
What's the application process like?
Oh yeah. So it's just they just give you a form because they're very open to like people with experience, people without experience. So you kind of just fill out like, I think now it's like a Google form of like, what do you want to get out of this? Like what makes you alive? Like kind of like these like kind of like formal like get to know you questions. And then after that there's an interview process. You can get interviewed by one of the three members on management. And then if you do well on the interview, the one-on-one interview with them, then they make the executive decision to either uh, keep you on for the season or respectfully ask to like apply like another time.
Okay, so it's a formal application and then an interview and then whether or
hmm
not you get on. How long does this program last?
About 6 to 7 months. So it's very
Like how often? Like what is the
Every
time?
Sunday.
Oh, every Sunday. Okay.
Every Sunday to a point. So I want to say maybe like the first 3 to 4 months is just Sundays, and that's like learning the ins and outs, like learning the equipment, learning the history, stuff like that. And then the last half is mentorships. So you get paired up with a staff member, and then they help you create your very first set that you're going to perform for your graduation, which they call Grad Fest. And it's just 15 minutes of you just performing in front of your friends and family with 100% production, like lasers, lights, visuals, your logo. And yeah, they have like a full like promo day, so they get your headshots, and then they post they post like a big flyer of you to promote the Grad Fest.
Okay. So I guess on that, what do you feel like was the biggest, or maybe handful of things you've learned that were super valuable for you in that experience of Academy DJs?
Yeah. I think a really big thing that I learned was um hmm, I would say thinking back on it now, I think yeah, I think timing is everything. Timing in the sense of like how I got accepted, when I got accepted, and like the whole rollout after that. So I think I was if like the universe wanted me to be in season 10, then I would be in season 10. But I don't think the universe or any other higher power wanted me to be there that time. So when I did apply, it was kind of like, oh, these are the people that are going to like influence you for maybe the rest of your life.
Mm.
Um, and that also includes like my mentor. That includes like everyone that was kind of on staff that season. And I think they all still to this day, like what now we're going to be on season 17 coming up soon. Yeah, after like maybe like 5 seasons, they're still doing the same thing, and they're still kind of pushing me to become like the artist or kind of like the creative person that they see and I don't necessarily see, if that makes sense.
Okay, so that mentorship was like really big for you in the guidance.
For sure.
Nice. What is crowd work vibing? How much does crowd work vibing count in the class?
Ooh, so crowd work and vibing. I can take that in one or two ways.
Yeah.
Crowd reading, I'm still trying to get good at it. Crowd reading in a sense of like when I'm doing a set, um, how certain people are picking up on it.
Oh, I
It's
see.
very it's I like broke this down to some of my students where I feel like DJing, even though it is fun and it has like this really big like spectacle of like everything. Oh hey, look at
Nice. There you
that.
go.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh my gosh. Shout out. That was yeah, that's a party in LA.
Mm. Oh, downtown LA. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that was at the Hilton, I
Ooh,
believe.
looks like
Yeah.
downtown
It
LA.
was yeah, just the view and everything is just so nice. And we I think this was we did a day party here for one of my friends' events called Strike a Jive.
Mm.
They are also alumni of Academy of DJs.
Mm.
Um, I digress. But anyways, yeah. So crowd reading and vibing is like becomes very psychological, even though DJing is like put on this like grand scale and like big lights, flashy lights, kind of like artist. You are the artist kind of vibe.
Mm.
But for some of us like local DJs and like still trying to get our names out, it's it depends on where you are in the time slot. So like if you're opening the nightclub and 5 or 6 people are like coming in and then it starts gradually becoming a little bit more packed, I'm not gonna be playing so much high energy music, you know? And that's me building the night.
Mm.
You know, I'm not gonna start off with crazy high energy hip hop. Like, you know, let's funnel people in. Let's, you know, show them that they're gonna have a good time by playing like nice little chill R&B throwbacks. Everyone loves to sing along. So this is like a moment for you to get your drinks, buckle up, because it's gonna be a long night.
I see.
So it becomes very psychological of like, are people dancing right now or are they going to the bar? Because it's not a bad thing if they're going to a bar, but it also means they're not necessarily
Like
listening.
listening, right? Like
Mhm.
they're not in the music right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
My job is to have people in the dance floor dancing and having a good time.
So then when you're in the heat of it, right? Like the meat of the night.
Mhm.
So then how do you do crowd work or vibing? Is it just kind of like trial and error? How do you see the
Yeah,
process?
so I think it does come with experience because obviously I'm still trying to like learn how to crowd read. But for me personally, I like to hit little pockets of people. Um, and that kind of depends on crowd reaction. So if people are really into like hip hop and like I see people jumping around, it's like, okay, let's keep this vibe. And then I'll get like an idea in my head of like a transition or like a mashup that goes into maybe like a different genre to kind of just like test the waters, see what people are feeling. And if the EDM drop hits and like everyone's jumping up and like, you know, having good times, like, okay, let's keep this vibe. But that's, I don't want to like tire everyone out because if I'm in the meat of it, there's probably another DJ after me. So I don't want them to be like completely tired out where they literally leave after my set. So I would not play like a complete EDM set. I would probably like play like one or two songs and then go back to like more of like the hype, hip hop, R&B kind of stuff.
I see. I'm curious, as a DJ, when
Mhm.
you go to other events or clubbing events, like how do you what is like the audience perspective of like watching another DJ like do their set?
Yeah,
Like, are you hypercritical or you're like, oh, this is fine? Or are you like,
I
I would have
think.
done this differently? You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, I'll be completely honest. I'm pretty critical, but I like to keep my opinions to myself.
Right,
Like
right.
obviously, like I don't know anyone of the background, but if I do, like if they're an alumni of Academy, I know they were in good hands. But if I'm seeing like someone for the first time that I've never seen spin before, I would kind of like listen, but I wouldn't also show that on my face. I would still keep dancing, keep vibing. You know, I don't want to be that one guy in the crowd with a
Just like
drink,
mean
just
mugging,
like
like, what are you doing?
yeah, just what is happening?
Boo, trash, trash
I
DJ.
can't be like that. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always
yeah.
here.
Support.
I'm always down to support other DJs and to like listen to new sounds. So I'm dancing, but I picked up on like a skill while in Academy DJs of like active listening. So it's like not necessarily like visualizing and like having to like look at what the DJ is doing, but if I'm like on the dance floor and like the DJ booth is all on stage, like I'm actively listening to hear of like, oh, he's bringing in the next song. Oh, he's lowering this EQ and then this EQ. Oh, okay, that works. And then kind of like making a mental note of that of just like, okay, you know, always a student, so I'm just jotting it down in my brain of like, okay, hmm, I liked how that sounded.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah. As a student of the craft, it's always a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Last few questions on this is, so what are some of the biggest challenges you face as you are, expanding your career in nightlife and DJing and music and whatnot?
Mhm.
And what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned overall? And I guess the follow up to that is like any advice you have for other people who want to get into what you do.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenges, probably still to this day, is the monster of social media. Um, I think a lot of people are really um, now utilizing social media as kind of like their resume, which I totally understand. And like I've mixed my DJ and my personal stuff together. So I, even though it might look like a resume, it's not necessarily all DJing. And I don't know if that's a detriment or a good thing or a bad thing, but that's kind of just like who I am as a person. Like, you know, this is my personal life, but also I'm spinning on this place on Friday, like come through. So I think just navigating that of like, you know, what content hits, like is it mashups or is it more of like trying to teach people how to DJ, like cool little tips and tricks and stuff like that. Um, I think it's like what avenue do I take to have people engaged content wise? Because I've like I would say maybe like a little bit like the last couple no probably the last half of the year, all I've been doing was kind of just like being to myself, but also like posting where I'm going to be playing. And that's not necessarily like enough, you know, like you have to like show people that you do this for a living, so it's like giving them a reason to come out. I'm not really the best at that, so that's something I'm still working on, but at least I'm aware of, showing people that I actually have been doing this. So it's like if you want more of this, come out on a Friday, come out on a Saturday. um yeah, and I think something I'm still sorry, what was the other half of the
Yeah,
questions?
yeah. Like lessons learned, the biggest things that you've learned on this career. And then
Mm,
after that is advice to other people.
yeah, so I think while on this career, I do believe in taking a break because it is long hours. Um, long hours, as in, you know, maybe using that time to practice, but also I'm really big on supporting. So it's like being out almost every weekend, almost every weekend. But everyone needs a mental break, and that's either me taking a month away from the decks, or like taking a week away from the decks, or taking like a month off from just gigs in general. Um, I do think a mental reset is crucial. Um, Even though I do respect the hustle of a lot of people, like they have the energy to like go out, by all means go out. Me personally, my social battery um
Yeah.
is gets depleted, especially if it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or and then the next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm just like, I just need to, wind down, play Marvel Rivals or
Mm.
something. Like
Mhm.
I just need to shut my brain off, not necessarily think about what's the next gig, what's this, what's this. As long as I feel like I'm still content on like, where I'm at, and like my skill set and my practicing isn't really like negating my skill set, then I think I'm okay.
Mm.
Um, and advice I would have to anyone that wants to try DJing or like have that as like a career, I would say go for it. I would say, but also protect your peace. Um, because I'm not saying all promoters are like this, but you will get some promoters that are kind of like just in it for like kind of like the money. Um, I would say, maybe like take a couple gigs for the hell of it, just to see if you can do it for like an hour or so. And then once you feel comfortable, remaining a student, learning new ways to transition, and also learning new ways to, or learning new ins and outs of like different equipment. Because not every club is the same, so they're not going to have the same equipment every club. So getting to know the ins and outs of equipment, I think, are two really big things: protecting your piece and knowing your equipment for sure.
Nice. I like it. Okay, so that's a good transition into the next topic, which is I kind of grouped this together. So this is something that you mentioned you might want to talk about: self awareness, trends, interests, and boundaries. So could you elaborate on this idea of being unapologetically yourself and not feeling the need to conform to quick trends?
Yeah. So I think I've just recently started being comfortable in my own skin. I think it's, again, like, um, unapologetically liking what I like and not being so soft spoken about it. Um, just a couple things off rip. I love D&D. I love wrestling, and I love music and DJing. Um,
Man of culture. There you
like
go.
unapologetically, I love WWE. And then on every couple Saturdays, I roll dice with my friends, and that's like something that unapologetically I will talk hours and hours on. But I think it's because I was so soft spoken about those things, about like liking geeky and nerdy things, or like liking really niche things like wrestling and stuff like that. Because I always had like something in the back of my mind that's just like, oh, people don't really like this kind of stuff. I can't really like connect with people on this. Um, I think because that part of my brain was so loud at that point, I was like, oh, I can't really touch base on this, because either one, people aren't going to connect with it, or two, I'm going to look like a complete outsider, weirdo kind of vibe. But I think now it's a little bit more like encouraged to start speaking about like the niche things that you like. At least for me, like if you can go like 2 hours or like an hour just like talking about your favorite thing, and I can see that you're like passionate about it, I was just like, whoa, tell me more. Like the energy you give off of that just makes it a little bit more inviting and a little bit more, like it's kind of like, I don't know if this is gonna be really outdated, but it's like there's this video of this guy, he like bumps into another guy, and he's just like, oh, why do you want to know about me and my girl? And then he asks him something about like, oh, how did you meet? Like he asked the guy, oh, how did you meet? And then he like completely like lights up, and he's just like, oh yeah, so we like met like on our first day. And it's like, oh, like that kind of energy and that kind of like invitefulness is, I think, what a lot of people are kind of like scared to kind of like like talk about like their very niche interests like that. Like everyone kind of is like putting on like kind of like a front, but like if you just be yourself, you also invite that energy. You also invite like that comfortableness. And I think because I talk so much about the stuff that I like, and I'm very vocal about it, it kind of just gives off that energy of like, oh, this is something I'm passionate about. what is, and then it goes into like, oh, so what are you passionate about, and not having to like worry about like, oh, is this guy gonna judge me for liking what I like? It's like, no, like I just told you what I like, and like this is a safe space.
Yeah. So it's kind of getting out of our own heads of what are people thinking of me and
Hmm.
judging me for my interests, but you're saying in the long run, or being passionate and speaking on what you enjoy and being unapologetically into those things
Hmm.
will allow you to connect better and deeper with people.
Yeah,
And also, people probably don't judge you as hard as you think. And if they do, then you're probably not your friends anyways.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, it's kind of like a good like gauge on people. Like if you ask like, oh, what are you passionate about, and I just go on and on about D&D, and I see that person check out, it's like, it was a
mm,
pleasure.
yeah, exactly.
It was a
We're
pleasure.
like, okay, maybe not too deep in that subject
Yeah,
this
maybe not
time.
too deep, but yeah.
What
I-
advice would you give to people who like aspire to be themselves, but they do have that? I think for a lot of people, it's the social anxiety of
yeah,
wanting to be liked and accepted.
yeah. I think um social anxiety is always going to be a thing. I still struggle with sometimes social anxiety when I'm in a space where it's just a lot of new faces. Um, but what I will say about that is, um, what I will say, it's like, wow, sorry, I just totally had a brain
Oh
fart.
yeah, it's all
I
good.
just totally had a brain
Yeah,
fart.
maybe I'll throw in something there too. Is like, um, being themselves. Like I think we already covered this, but being yourself, I feel like there's like this mental burden that you have when you're trying to hide yourself.
Mm,
But when you're authentically yourself, and I think this is also what you're saying, is it frees you, but it also the energy is a lot better,
mhm.
and you actually can connect with people around you even better when you are yourself.
Yeah,
And I guess my 2 cents on how to be more yourself, I think it's just lean into that as much as you can.
mhm.
And also, I think like your friends who are around you will support you in what you enjoy. And you lighting yourself up will also light them up and inspire them to also be authentically themselves. I think it's
Yeah,
like a win-win, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I also think it's like very mentally draining to kind of like keep
Mhm.
putting on fronts. Um, and it like kind of like circles back with like DJing, because like for an hour you're like the main character, and then as soon as like the next DJ's on, it's like, okay, you're kind of back. So it's like not kind of like having that kind of like imposter syndrome, even though it's kind of like a given sometimes. It's not having like, it's kind of like knowing when to like ground yourself, I guess. And I think being unapologetically yourself is very grounding. Um, and it also like, yeah, it also like, you know, you just, it's just like having that afterglow. It's like having like, as soon as you start talking passionately about something and something that you really like there's something very attractive about that, like energy wise.
I like that. And then you bring up the whole main character for an hour or whatnot. As an introvert, I'm like, I can see why I'd be drained at the end of the weekend. Like, dang, an hour of being the main character of this whole scene,
Hmm.
I would definitely feel
Yeah,
drained.
like two, maybe like, yeah, 200 people kind of just like looking at you, like, and then you also just have like the random people that like are
Mm,
requesting
mm,
for songs. I'm just like, we'll see if it happens.
mhm. Like, we'll see. I'll do my best. But
We'll
yeah.
see. I'll do my best.
Yeah. The next thing I want to ask about is clarifying on this idea of owning your interests and creating boundaries with disinterests.
Hmm.
So I get the whole owning your interests. So I can make assumptions, but do you want to give your thoughts on those?
Yeah. Um, owning your interests. Again, it goes back to like being truly like passionate about your interests. And I think for some people, that's it goes into the lines of oversharing, and some people really just get like turned off about that. It's just like, oh, I was just here to kind of just like, you're a friend of a friend. Like, why are we?
Like it's too deep, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
too
want to
deep.
say
It's like,
hi.
yeah,
How's it
not the
going?
time and place. But like, obviously, when you get passionate about something, it's like you ramble and you can't stop until like you literally have to be like, oh, I have to take 2 steps back. You know what I'm saying? So I think creating that boundary, especially when you can kind of like gauge it from the other person, um, is very like healthy too. Because I think also through like personal experiences, like not everyone's cup of tea are your interests, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. It's just now it's having that mental note and knowing kind of like what to talk to them about. And if like you guys do have the same interests, like for example, it's music and it's like certain artists and stuff like that, that's something for sure you can connect on. But I know for sure I can't connect like I can't talk wrestling with you, you know. Um, but yeah, that's like creating that boundary. And it's also creating that boundary. Boundary is a good word, but I think the word that comes to mind is like it's kind of like the same thing as kind of like arm's reach a little bit. It's kind of like some people get really turned off by like my interests and stuff like that. So I think just like with my personal trauma and stuff like that, just kind of like knowing when to nip it in the butt or kind of like keep that at like a arm's reach is more of it's a double edged sword for sure.
What about this idea of creating boundaries with disinterests?
Mm, yeah. So with disinterest, it um that it's like more of the lines of like what I said. It's like disinterest. Like if I take someone that I didn't know that doesn't like, for example, Marvel movies, and they go out with me to a Marvel movie, it's like making that boundary of like, oh, they're not gonna like me, like not knowing that, like I think they're gonna have a good time, and like, oh, this is gonna be fun for us. But if they're kind of just there just to like just hang out with friends, like obviously that's fun, but it's also like now it's like
It's
kind
like
of
an awkward situation
a little bit, yeah.
if it's not communicated, I guess, what in this situation what they're disinterested in.
Mhm.
And you kind of don't want to makes you feel bad of like, oh, I put them in the
Yeah,
situation.
like I don't want to force this interest on you.
Exactly. So I think is it the same the other way too? It's like, okay, maybe my friend's into this, but I'm not just communicating that. Okay, I'm not that into it, but I'll come out or whatever.
Yeah, I think for sure, like especially for me, like if it's something I have zero knowledge of, and like I've never even experienced it, one or two tries doesn't even. It's like one or two tries doesn't hurt anybody. I would rather try it and know that it's like something that I'm not very comfortable with, or not my cup of tea. But at least I gave it those one or two tries. Like at least I toughed it out. I tried it, and you know, I'll let that be your interest, and then I'll do my thing over here. But that's not me like totally bagging on you. It's
Yeah.
like, ew, like what is this?
Mhm.
It's more or less of like that is gonna be your space, and I'm gonna respect that. So it's like I will not kind of like, excuse me, force myself upon that where I know like I'm gonna just be kind of like dead
Yeah, be
weight.
like miserable or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
like and obviously like people can read that energy. Like it's some people think they're really good at hiding it, but like you you I personally like will feel it. I'm
Mm.
just like, and that's me like now like checking up on you every time, and like, hey, are you okay? Like is everything good? Like do you want to grab like some food after it? And then like it just I would say sometimes for better for worse put me in like lackluster situations, but n- one or two tries doesn't hurt anybody.
Mm.
And I think for some people to not even take that chance or to take that chance of like trying, um, then it's like, okay, man,
Mm.
like at least try it before you can actually say
Right.
like, I don't want to do
It's
this.
like both sides, right?
Yeah,
Giving it a shot, but also like, okay, I don't think this is my thing, self awareness.
yeah, for sure.
I want to go back to this idea of quick trends. Do you have an
Mhm.
example of what you mean by that? Like conforming to quick trends if we didn't cover it?
Yes, conforming to quick trends. I think that's just under like the umbrella of like social media.
Mm.
I think just because everyone is like on social media probably every day, it's like, what is the new sound? I think conforming to quick trends in a DJ perspective is getting a very trendy audio and like mixing it with
Oh,
something.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? Um,
Like this song or this thing is hype, so let me kind
yeah,
of
like
leverage that.
like right now the very popular at this point in time is the Lil Wayne song. The I was just gonna say it's just Drake saying and then it goes and then it goes into the instrumental.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's that, but like from a DJ's point of view and from like a DJ's kind of like content, it's like mixing maybe like an acapella with that instrumental and then having it pop off because it's a trending audio.
I see
Um,
that happen a lot where it's like a trending like Squid Game and then the soundtrack, I
yeah,
mean like it's a big thing. So but
yeah,
you're saying like that's not what you should do or
yeah. I mean, it's for some people for sure. I think it's definitely a tool to get their work out. but also I don't think there's longevity in that.
I see. I see.
I think the thing that I want to build is like community and like longevity with where I want to take DJing and like music.
Mm.
Like I want to build a community, but I also want it to live as long as humanly possible. And like quick trends, like yeah, that's cool for the time, but like give it like maybe like 3 months, maybe even less. Then it's like
Mhm.
okay,
Like, what do you have to show for it? You did
yeah,
a trend and it
yeah,
blew up, but what?
yeah. And I think that also goes with like making like just strictly just like no hate again. Like this is no shade. It's just having like one mashup in your room and like yeah, it could get like viral and it could get popular, but it's also like people don't obviously when people are doom scrolling, they're not really thinking about like, oh, how many takes did that take? And how did you get clean audio and did you record this?
Mm.
Or and like some people like
They're not
this
really. That's what I think about all the time.
this this it's funny too because like sometimes like at least for DJ TikTok and something like that, like some of the alumni like on the Academy DJ group chat will just like will send each other videos and it's just like there's nothing plugged into the mixer.
Mm.
How's he doing this? This doesn't make sense. So yeah, obviously some people like do fake it for likes, but also some people it's like how long did you take to like prepare this, practice this, and then edit it? Um, and I think that just like it doesn't in the real world of like DJing, real world quote unquote.
Mm.
Um, it doesn't provide you any like yeah, it provides you maybe the eyes and the likes.
Yeah, for that short
Um,
term, but not the
yeah, it's
longevity.
like okay, now put that person who did that mashup for like a 30-second mashup and put them in front of a crowd and see if they could do it
Mm.
for an hour.
Right, because those are different mediums, different intentions of that artwork.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
but it's like you bought a DJ board.
Mhm.
Are you just using it to just do the quick mashups, or are you actually like trying to like is this like a cool idea that you had that you can later do in an hour long set?
Right, I like that. So it's thinking of like the short term versus the long term and
Hmm.
balancing that out.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay. Any last thoughts on that before we go to rapid fire questions? Any final takeaways
Uh,
on DJing? We'll go back to we have final takeaways at the end,
yeah.
but
I think for DJs, I like where we're at.
yeah,
I like where we're at
it's
for
good.
sure.
I learned a lot. Okay, rapid fire questions. First one, billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say?
For millions of people to see, what would it say? Um, um, just like a random question.
Anything.
Anything?
Anything.
Mine would be so head ass. It'd probably be like top three fast food chains.
Mm.
What are your top three fast food chains? That could like tell me so much about a person.
Ah, I see. Just make them think.
Yeah, like you would put Shake Shack over In and Out. No shade to Shake Shack. I love Shake
Yeah,
Shack,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like I'm not like the accessibility I have with In and Out over Shake Shack
Mm,
is why In and Out is
mm,
above Shake Shack.
I like it. Cool. Next one. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life and would you learn from it?
Hardest challenges I faced in life has been the constant battle between my career choices with my parents. And I think I've overcame that by having them be at my graduation for Academy of DJs. And they finally saw that, oh, he's very passionate in doing this. And like a lot of people can see that he's very passionate about doing this. There's nothing wrong with letting him have this chance and having this chance to like prove us wrong instead of having the traditional nurse, like traditional job career choice.
Self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story about something that's gone wrong in your life that was your own fault and you can't blame anyone else?
Yes, so I'm really bad with money. Something I'm still working on. And yeah, I just when something comes up and it just really just piques my interest, sadly, money is going to go towards that.
Mm.
Is it the best financial decision? Probably not. But we're working on that, and you know, I'm trying to hold back from spending.
I like it. I like it. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now?
I would say trust yourself and trust your vision. Because even though it's not going to be directly what you would like, at least you still have that creative output because I know you thrive on that.
Mm, I like it. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
New belief, habit, or
Behavior.
behavior. Um, yeah, I think it goes back to mental breaks. I think I was on such a big high after I graduated Academy of DJs of just like I need to like be in tune with everything and everything around me. I think that is still true, but there's also room for like mental breaks, and that's you know playing video games. That's literally taking a nap, maybe. Um, and also just practicing. Like I feel like I could just practice like in my home setup and just turn my brain off and just even though I'm still proactive on like where I want to be, that's kind of like my mental reset of just like there's no there's no expectations, there's no judgment. So just mix for an hour and then yeah, just breathe.
Mm. How do you define success, and who would you call successful?
Wow. I would say what defines success is if your career or if your job doesn't feel like a job or career. I think that's like where I can kind of like um put my like expectations on success of just cuz that's something that I want to achieve and that's something that brings me joy and like that's obviously the end goal. Someone that I know or sorry, you said who's someone that
Is successful, per your definition.
per my definition.
Any example?
I had a good conversation with him, but the the guy that started Academy of DJs, Dave Diho, he has this long legacy of Academy of DJs. He started 3 clubs, and he doesn't have to be. We had this conversation, and he said he had to be a little bit more of like kind of like the no person, the yet the like very cutthroat kind of guy. But I think now, especially with the conversation we had, and he was very open about saying that he's very comfortable with where he is right now. Um, I think that's the definition of success. It's like leaving a legacy of, something that you enjoy and that can like outlive you. And that's something that he's currently doing and is still doing. 17 seasons later in
Mm,
Academy of
that's
TJs.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you be trying, or what would you be doing right now?
Oh, musicals.
Mm,
If I know I couldn't fail musicals, and if
like
I know
Broadway
I
and
would
stuff? Mm,
absolutely, if I know I couldn't fail and I got my dream role, I would for sure audition Broadway like today.
nice.
Like if I
Do you have a favorite musical?
oh my gosh. My favorite musical, as of right now, is Hades Town. Hades Town, it's based off this like Greek mythology about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher their names, but it's like Eurydice and like, it's kinda like
Yeah,
those
yeah,
kinds of names.
yeah.
So uh right now it's just like style wise, it's like very um how would I say? It's like oh my gosh, how do uh, I I'm already drawing blanks on how to describe it. But yes, Hades Town. Um, it's like a love story, but it's also like like overcoming your own expectations.
Mm,
Because I believe the main female lead, like, and the male female lead, they're like in hell. Like it's like
mm.
Hades. So
Oh,
it's like they're trying to like get out of it, and yeah, I don't want to like ruin the
the plot or
ending.
anything?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the plot or the ending,
gotcha.
but literally like yeah, just the music is so good.
Mm,
And I think I really resonate on like some of like the themes and like applying that to like real life because that's something I've learned in theater. It's just like how do you see yourself in this character,
mm,
and how can you portray that as that character,
mm.
which is very cool and it's a good kind of like mental gymnastics.
Mm, I like it. Next one, follow up to that is if you knew you would fail, what would you still be doing anyway?
DJing,
Nice. I like it.
DJing for sure.
What is one thing that you've been pondering deeply recently, if anything?
Pondering recently,
Something that's on your mind.
I think I'm always pondering um my ideas. I think it's
Ideas for like DJing?
ideas for DJing, content stuff. I do want to start like a YouTube channel. So it's like pondering like my expectations, but also like I get a little bit more pessimistic about my ideas of
Mm.
like, is this
Is it gonna work?
yeah, is this gonna work? Is this actually good? But you know, that doesn't necessarily hold me back of like trying it at least. Um, but I think yeah, it's just is this good enough? Is always something I'm pondering.
Favorite hot take or something you think most people won't agree with?
Um, Wrestling is real. Wrestling is 100% real. It is. It's basically it's basically a stage play for the masculinity.
I like it.
it's it's 100% real. Some of the stories they cut deep because you can. It's yeah. It's like watching a movie in real life. I would kind of consider it on the same plane as like watching Waterworld at Universal Studios. Like you can't doubt the fact that that person is jumping off that ledge
Mhm.
for like 50 feet
Yeah,
up
it's
and
not a
stuff.
magic trick. It's
Yeah,
real.
yeah, this is real. They're hitting them. They're hitting each other, but it's them knowing the knowledge of how to hit them, where it's not concussing them.
Mhm.
And I think that's so sick.
Yeah, there's a lot more artistry into that. Someone put it this way: it's like people think it's not real. It's real. It's scripted, but it's completely real.
Mm,
Like you feel everything, and like you said, there's an artistry behind it.
yeah,
What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made in either time, money, energy, etc.?
this is gonna sound really cheesy, but I think putting more time into my relationship with my partner. I think there was a lot of times where it could have went either or. It could have ended faster than what it is still standing at right now. But I think she this is gonna be really corny, and I
It's
apologize.
all good.
But
Lauren will like it.
Lauren,
At
Lauren will
least
like
one
it.
person will like it.
No, but it's just that I was in a rock and a hard place between some friends that I had at that time and like her, and at that time I really was very muddled about like what to choose. But it's like now like fully investing like my time and my effort to that relationship and nurturing it to her point and to my point as well of like what our certain kind of like icks or like our red flags and our green flags and stuff like that, kind of like nurturing that. Also, she's like when I say rest, it's usually just spending time with Lauren.
Mhm.
And it's definitely of like this is my rest because I know I'm in a safe space. And that took a lot of years of like building that safe space. But it's I would say it's at a good point right now where I can literally call her any time of the day and just being like after work or anything like that and just being like, I had a rough day. Did you have a rough day? Oh, you did? Let's go watch anime.
Mhm.
Let's go watch anime and just be together and literally just rest.
I like it. I think it's a important thing to underscore for people, probably in relationships, right? Is
Mhm.
you can't underestimate the value of investing in a relationship, especially if it's one you know that it's the real one, right? Is you won't regret investing more into that because a good relationship will pay you more dividends for like what it
100%.
gives out of your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Lo. She's the real one, really.
Shout out.
Yeah. If you're listening to this, hopefully you are. Support your man.
I think she said she is gonna listen to it as soon as it
Nice.
hops on. So
Perfect.
that one's for you.
There you go. Favorite recent purchase in around the $50 to $100 range that has impacted your life the most in the last 5 months or 6 months?
$50 to $100 range.
Like relatively cheap recently.
How recent are we talking about?
Any as recent as you want.
So I would say my standing desk. I would say my standing desk, even though that's not necessarily $50 to $100. It
Sure.
was kind of a little bit more, but I think investment wise, is my standing desk because I can one have an actual desk, but also two, I can recreate the
Oh, I
stage of
see.
like a DJ. Like I've memorized to a point of like how high the
Mm,
table is,
mm,
so I'll just literally just have it standing, move my chair up, and then just start practicing.
I like it. Versatile.
Mhm.
Last question for rapid fire. Favorite books, movies, videos, articles, media, or anything that you share or recommend the most?
Recommend the most. I have two because I would say one. I believe everyone should watch a musical. Any musical.
Mm.
It could be Wicked if you want to see how that is actually supposed to be portrayed in like a stage kind of
Stage
setting.
version, yeah.
Um, and two, um, solo movies. I'm a big advocate for solo
What do you
movies.
mean by solo movies?
Going to the movies by
Oh, by
yourself.
yourself. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm a big solo movies and just being immersed in that world. Um, both of it very escapism, but at the same time, that's something I'm a big advocate for. Solo movies and at least one musical in your lifetime.
I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I subscribe to that as well. I feel like there's a different experience watching a movie by yourself as opposed
Mhm.
to with someone else. People like to watch movies together, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there's something about watching it and just being in it by yourself and there's no distractions or how is someone else perceiving me as I watch this movie.
Yeah.
It's very meta, but I think I can underscore that. You should definitely try it. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it was funny because I was watching Dune by myself,
Mm.
like Dune 2, like IMAX and everything by myself. And I was just like lost in my own world. And then my mind would just be like, I think I see myself in Paul Atreides. And I don't know if that's a bad thing.
You're like, is that me?
Is that me? Why am I so, But yeah, I also cried by myself watching Spider-Man
There you go.
Across the Spider-Verse
Yeah, I know.
by
No,
myself.
that's a good movie. And I'll full disclosure too. The reason why I like watching movies by myself because on the off chance I do cry, and I'm more in it as opposed to like if I'm watching with my girlfriend and
Yeah.
she will be like, "Did you cry?" I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm a man. I
What?
don't cry. I didn't cry."
I didn't cry.
Also,
I don't know what you're
too,
talking about.
also too, sometimes there are movies that I will cry, but because someone's there, I won't. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, I need to do this by myself because I want to really like be in this.
What makes you cry in a movie?
Great question. It's the specific themes of unconditional love, especially between like parents and their kids.
Love.
Yeah, love or courage to stand up for what you believe in despite the world like pounding on you to say different.
Mhm.
It's that sort of like standing on your principles
Yeah.
or like a self-sacrifice hero sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to give to the world because like that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Those things will hit me hard. Not romance, but yeah.
Yeah, I believe a majority of the times I've cried is when people just come together for one cause, and I'm just like,
There you go. Yeah.
yeah.
I feel it. I feel it. Nice. All right. That is it for rapid fire. We'll go into ending questions. So our first one is gratitude. So shout out to my mom. JJ, what are you grateful for?
Ooh, I am grateful for family. I'm grateful for community, and I'm grateful for music. Um, Family, I'm blessed and lucky enough to be very close with my siblings, with my parents, with my cousins, and they kind of keep me grounded. I'm thankful for community, for people to keep me in check, and for people to give me the harsh realities of my career. And I'm thankful for music because I can listen to any song and put my own situation in that song and apply it to that.
Love it. Final ask from the audience or final takeaways you would like them to have for the show.
Takeaways. I would like uh if something is scaring you and you're scared to try it, I would give yourself 3 counts of a deep breath and then try it. I would say, I think something that holds a lot of us back is the courage to try new things. So, especially with me, because I'm very picky and I'm very picky in the sense of like with food too. So it's just like take a deep breath and then try that sushi that you've never tried before. And at least you could say you tried it.
Right. I like it. Cool. All right. Last one. Where can we find you if people want to check out what you're up to or reach out or anything like that? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So I am on Instagram at underscore MILO. So that's MIL 0 and then 2 additional underscores. You could also find me on SoundCloud. I believe all the links to all of that will be on my Instagram. So just check out my Instagram and everything will be there.
Dope. Yeah, and we'll link it in the show notes as well as in addition to everything we talked about.
Mhm.
Cool. All right, JJ, that is the end of the recording. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Nice. And I'll do my final sign off. So to my audience, thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. Reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. And reminder that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thanks for being here.